chat your name and pronouns, where you're located, your organization, and your favorite spring flora and fauna that you've seen or you're hoping to see. Welcome, everyone. I'll go first. I'm Jen Rand, an organizer with New Yorkers for Clean Power. I use she, her pronouns. And as for a favorite spring flora and fauna, there's one lilac tree on my street. And while it was blooming, I went out of my way to smell it every time I walked in that direction. And sometimes I even took a detour and walked that way on purpose just to smell it while it was blooming. I'm still waiting on my first dragonfly sighting of the season, but seeing starlings is always a treat. And what about all of you? Please keep introducing yourselves in the chat. And welcome, everyone. If you're just joining, please share your name, your pronouns, your location, and your favorite spring flora and fauna. All right. And before we get started, if you have any questions throughout the meeting, please write them in the chat and we'll try to answer them along the way or connect with you afterward. And we will be recording this meeting and we'll email it to all the registrants along with the slides and any links. So that we share tonight. So yeah. Oh, great. I'm seeing a lot of lilacs. They are wonderful. Morels. Oh, nice. Or morels, I think it's pronounced. Nice. Mulberry tree. I haven't seen one of those. Ah, and also pigeons. The people's bird, they say. Nice. All right, everybody. I think I'm going to go ahead and get us started. So just double checking that we are recording. Okay, great. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Renewable Heat Now's monthly grassroots meeting. I'm Jen Rand, an organizer with New Yorkers for Clean Power, and I'm so glad that you're here with us tonight. Next slide, please. So for anyone who hasn't joined us before, Renewable Heat Now is a statewide campaign to get New York's buildings off fossil fuels and make sure no one gets left behind. Our organizations work together to pass legislation and regulations, as well as educate the public and state leaders about energy efficiency and making sure the transition to clean energy is affordable for all New Yorkers. Next slide, please. We focus on buildings because one of the largest sources of climate pollution in New York State comes from burning fossil fuels like natural gas in our buildings for heating, cooking, and hot water. Natural gas is mostly made of methane, which causes both indoor and outdoor air pollution that's harmful to our health and supercharging climate change. And methane is more harmful in the short term than carbon dioxide, so we really want to reduce methane pollution as soon as possible. And 1/3 of methane pollution comes from fossil fuel use, and part of that is because methane leaks at every stage of the gas system, from extraction to delivery in our homes. Next slide, please. But here's the good news. We already have all the tools and technology we need for a planned and affordable transition away from fossil fuels. And most New Yorkers agree that we should be using more of those tools faster. And reducing methane emissions quickly will slow down climate change, which gives us more time to adapt and make the communities we love more resilient. And we're so glad you're here to help us bring that vision to life. Next slide. So a little bit about what we're going to be talking about tonight. So first up, Jessica Aguilé of Agree is going to be sharing an update on the climate law and the budget. And then we'll hear from Senator Kristen Gonzalez, who is going to be walking us through her leak-prone pipe mapping bill, the GAP fund, and the data center moratorium bill. And then we have Graham Van Korf from Solar One, who's going to be talking with us about the ASAP Act. And then we'll be taking action together and sharing some next steps and what we've been up to lately. So without further ado, I will pass it over to Jessica Ashley.
Okay, thank you so much, Jen, and welcome everyone to the Power Hour. Um, I am here to talk to you about what's going on with the climate law and the budget in this state legislature. So, next slide. All right, so in case you haven't heard, just the big picture going on here is that the governor of New York, Governor Hochul, has been pushing to dramatically weaken our landmark climate law. This law was passed in 2019. It's one of the strongest climate laws in the country, um, aggressively reducing fossil fuel use in every sector of the economy, with near-term targets in 2030, getting to zero by 2050, and really ensuring that we are reducing pollution in environmental justice communities and ensuring the benefits of the clean energy transition get to the communities that have suffered historically from the pollution from our energy system. So the governor's been working to weaken this bill and has made this a major priority in the budget and has been negotiating with the legislature to get the changes that she wants to the law. Um, we This has been done in secret negotiations in the budget process. The governor did not release the amendments that she wants, the language that she wants publicly. She didn't put it in her version of the budget that was due in January. The language that she wants has not been made public, and the negotiation over what the language will look like has not been a public discussion. It's been behind closed doors in the budget negotiation process. So all we know about it is really what has been leaked to the media about the state of the negotiations. And what we know at this time is that is looking that there's going to be an agreement to weaken the climate law in the budget. Um, New York's nation-leading greenhouse gas accounting method, which really recognized the impact of methane in the short term and accounted for emissions that were coming from extraction and transportation of fossil fuels from out of state. Um, it looks like that is likely to be changed to match what other states have on the books. So that's a big deal, and a big weakening of our leadership as a state in addressing climate change. Um, it looks like there will be regulations that were due in 2024 that are very, very late, will now be due in 2028, and will likely be a cap and invest program, but it's unclear exactly what the language will look like. Um, there's also weakening of the 2030 target. We're not exactly sure what that looks like, but there's talk of a new soft 2040 target of 60% reductions from 1990 levels. And there, as of the time of this reporting, which was April 28th, so quite some time ago, maybe $1 billion in the budget for climate action. So we don't really know the details since then. Again, nothing has been made public, and and organizations have been fighting these changes for months. The budget was due April 1st. It is now May 21st, so we have a budget that is almost 2 months late. Next slide. Um, So I think that will be dropped in the chat. There's a article that kind of walks through some of the play-by-play. But again, this is just more reporting on what the changes may look like. Again, we have not seen language, so we do not actually know the details. Next slide. Okay, and there's been a lot of back and forth about when a budget deal will happen, whether there's a deal or not. Um, about a couple of weeks ago, the governor announced a deal and talked about some of the details of the deal, and then um, the Speaker of the Assembly said there was no deal yet and said they didn't even have final language on various policies, including the CLCPA. So this has been a really tough budget process. It's been held up for weeks, and it's been very unclear what the deal will look like or when it will happen. Next slide. But it does seem like we are getting close. The legislature did start voting. The budget comes out in multiple bills. It doesn't come out as one big bill. So the legislature did start voting on some bills this week. Um, and also got an extension until next Tuesday. So the reporting now is that they may vote on the rest of the bills next week as early as Tuesday, but we still don't know, and we still don't know what the CLCPA rollbacks will exactly look like. Next slide. Okay, so I just dropped a lot on you. And I know that this has been many of you here have fought with us for months to try to prevent these rollbacks and to try to get um, New York State moving with investments and policies to build renewable energy and invest in our homes to bring down energy use and greenhouse gas emissions. The context of all of this has been skyrocketing fossil fuel prices due to a major cold snap this winter, followed by a global energy crisis caused by US war on Iran. So, while we're seeing this massive spike in fossil fuel prices and an escalating affordability crisis, New York is weakening one of its strongest tools to reduce our reliance on fossil fuels and gain energy independence and reduce emissions. So it's been a really tough process, and we thank all of you for standing up with us throughout this entire process to try to push back on the onslaught of the climate law from the governor. At the same time, we came into this budget process hoping to win some investments. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the policies that we've been fighting for since last year and throughout the budget process, while we also fight this rollback. Um, we still don't know what the ultimate result of the budget is going to be, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about what the status of these things and what we're hearing. But again, maybe next week we'll see the details. So we've been fighting for $1 billion in the Sustainable Future Program. Again, this is a major investment in renewable energy, energy efficiency, electric vehicles, all the things we need to get us off of fossil fuels. The Senate and the Assembly both proposed $1 billion. The governor did not. And as I just reviewed, the reporting is we probably will get a sustainable future program of about $1 billion in the budget. Um, we also were fighting for $200 million for the Empower Plus program, which helps low and moderate income households reduce their energy use by insulating their homes and air sealing, um, and install heat pumps. And the governor did propose 50 million in her budget. The Assembly proposed 160 million to be spent over 2 years, and the Senate proposed 150 million. So we're hopeful that we'll get, um, since there's reporting that there will be the Sustainable Future Program of about $1 billion, we're hopeful that we'll get a good chunk of money for Empower. We've also been fighting for thermal energy networks and the ability of whole neighborhoods to get off of fossil fuels for heating and cooling. Um, at a community and utility scale, and the Assembly and the Senate both put $200 million in their budget. So, and the governor did not put money in her budget. So we will see what the ultimate outcome is, but we have, the legislature on our side here. We've also been trying to help people who are on the most expensive fossil fuels, oil and propane, transition to heat pumps and save money. We were hoping for a program funding to do that. The governor and the Senate and the Assembly, none of them proposed that in their budget, so it's unlikely to happen, but we'll keep fighting and bring this back next year. We've also been fighting for the Green Affordable Pre-Electrification Fund or GAP fund. This this fund, which is a new fund, and it we won it in the budget last year, and money is hitting the streets all over New York now. Um, it helps homes that need repairs that are prerequisites to even being able to do insulation and electrification, get those critical repairs paid for. It gets people to the starting place of being able to transition their home to reduce energy use and energy costs. So it's a really important fund. We were calling for 200 million. We got 2 million last year. Um, the governor proposed to carry over that 2 million, but it's already spent now. And the Senate and the Assembly both proposed another 2 million. So we're hopeful we'll get something and we're pushing for more. This is such a critical policy, so stay tuned. We've also been fighting to save the Weatherization Assistance Program, which has been funded at the federal level, but the governor is cutting the funds in New York, putting that program at risk. It's another program that insulates low-income homes, and we're facing the potential of programs shutting down and workers in that program being laid off, and we're fighting really hard to try to save that program right now. Um, and you're going to hear a little bit more about the ASAP Act, so I'll skip that for now, but it's a big priority for us in the budget, reducing the cost of electricity, helping to reduce our reliance on fossil fuels, and we believe reducing the cost of electricity also helps pave the way for decarbonizing our homes through electrification. Um, we also have been fighting to extend a really important tax credit in New York City that's set to expire that helps multifamily buildings and co-ops make the transition and comply with their building decarbonization policy, Local Law 97. And the governor and the Senate both proposed to extend that tax credit in the budget. So I think that may have actually happened. Um, so that could be a bright spot here in the budget. And then we were also trying to continue to fight for the amendment of the utility obligation to serve, to stop our wasteful spending on unnecessary gas pipelines and pave the way for transitioning our investments over to community scale programs for heat pumps. Um, that was in no one's budget, so it's unlikely to happen in this budget. But again, we will continue to fight for that policy next year. Okay, so I will just close by saying I all of us at Renewable Heat Now, at Alliance for a Green Economy, are really disheartened by what has gone on in this budget with the governor prioritizing rolling back the climate law and dramatically weakening New York's leadership. But we are also steadfast in continuing to fight for the investments and policies that are necessary to make this transition real. Um, we have a start with that in some of the policies and investments that we may see in the budget still. We're going to continue to fight throughout the legislative session to get more policies on the books this session and then beyond session. We'll be fighting with the utility regulators and other state agencies and the governor to really push and accelerate the transition that all of us need right now to get off expensive fossil fuels and get onto clean, affordable, renewable electricity. Okay, I'm going to pass it over back to the MC, I think. Jen?
Yeah, thanks so much, Jessica. Really appreciate that context. And we have a really wonderful special guest with us here tonight, Senator Kristen Gonzalez. if you'd like to come off mute and say hello. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Hi. I am, well, first, I'm just getting off the Amtrak from Albany. We had a little bit of a later day today because I think, as you just presented, we started voting on our budget bills. I just want to make sure everyone can hear me and it's not too loud. I'm in Moynihan, so like, don't know if I can get quieter, but
We can hear you
it
just
looks like it's
fine.
good. Okay, good, good. Okay, so for one, just want to start by saying thank you to Kim for inviting me on the call. It is really, really good to be here. But for anyone that I'm meeting for the first time, I'm State Senator Kristen Gonzalez. I represent Northern Brooklyn and Greenpoint Williamsburg, as well as Western Queens, Astoria, Long Island City, and the east side of Manhattan from 14th Street up to the UN. And I have served on the Energy Committee now for 4 years. I chair the Technology Committee in addition to the Elections Committee. And so, between my district being the home of multiple environmental justice communities, when you think of Astoria as Asma Alley with the largest power plant in the city and a peaker plant, down to Port Brooklyn, which is the site of the largest underground oil spill in the country, and also the work that's been done through the committee around public renewables and looking at a transition. Our energy future and environmental and climate justice has been probably one of the biggest things that I've worked on. I will say, joining the legislature as someone who had done climate organizing before, but as a new member, it was really illuminating. But I will, in the last 4 years, say there has been progress. So for all of the folks who are feeling the immense hurt that I too feel about our climate law getting rolled back in parts, and how late this budget is and dysfunctional the state government has seemed, which is for me also unacceptable in the larger context of a hostile federal administration. I will also say that it is possible for us to win. We have been making gains every single year. And I really do believe that this is a hard moment, but it isn't the end of our fight, and that we can continue winning in the next budget, the budget after. So I wanted to offer two things. One, I saw in the budget presentation, I caught the tail end. I'm happy to respond to some of those things. So I was offering some new information and you all kind of know where we're at. And the second are some of the things that I'm working on and maybe ways we can work together. And the first piece, we will be getting $1 billion for the Sustainable Future Fund. And it will fund things like thermal energy networks and electric school buses and decarbonization of homes. And one of the things I am most excited about is $50 million for NYCHA specifically, to build on their sustainability portfolio. And that can look like electrification and solar panels, but also induction stoves, heat pumps, and more. That was an ask that I made as an individual member. When we started talking about the Sustainable Future Fund and about my district, which also has public housing near the Ravenswood power plant, I think one of the first things I said was, why can't some of that money be used for public housing residents who are not only the most impacted, but some of the lowest income New Yorkers? And it took a push alongside NYCHA, alongside our unions. I got Senator Kavanaugh and Senator Harckham both advocating for us. And to see that we actually got 50 million is significant in the context of NYCHA in the budget actually only getting about 140 million. So this 50 is bringing a significant portion now into NYCHA. We got another $1 million for the GAP fund. So we're at 3 million now. It's not obviously what we wanted to be with the 200 million. But the GAP fund was a bill that I had sponsored last year, and we fought together to win. But I think any new money in that space is also a really good signal. And I think we will be seeing progress on bills like the ASAP Act and the Sunny Act. And so I think altogether, there has been at least wins through the legislature. So that's the first piece on the budget. Oh, and then I think I'll also offer the budget. We did 2 bills next week. We will do the remaining bills. 2 bills this week. We'll do the remaining bills next week. So we should be done by the end of next week, which will only give us about 1 week to pass legislation. So for those of you who are tracking bills outside of the budget, wanted to also share that so you kind of know what the timeline is proactively and work with your members to deliver those bills. The second piece is I am working on several data center bills. We had AI Week last week in Albany and a massive rally. I want to thank the folks here who are part of that. We would like to conference data centers, and I am pushing alongside Senator Krueger a moratorium. But it's notable that recently the Assembly passed a data center bill by Assemblymember Tapia. That bill wasn't part of our initial package because it does focus on companies paying for or giving credits to local communities. And I think we're really clear that the threat of hyperscale data centers, not just any data center, but specifically the larger energy facilities, is so existential when we are literally rolling back our climate law because our energy grid cannot, according to those who have pushed to roll it back, cannot even keep up with the current load. That said, with the assembly moving in this space, I think it gives it momentum to either pass that bill in the Senate and hopefully pass a broader package. So we'll be pushing to conference that very soon. And then a few of the other bills I'm working on, a leaky pipes bill alongside Assemblymember Gallagher to look at how we are, how utility companies are investing in fossil fuel infrastructure and then using that in their rate cases, and going to continue the push and gap fund. So I just wanted to touch on those additional bills because I know data centers has been a really big topic of conversation this year. All in all, though, as I've processed, I think just like you all, I've gone through the stages of grief this year. I have been angry. I have been resentful. Unfortunately, I will have to come to acceptance once the budget is voted on. But I really do just want to end by saying that progress is never linear. For every conversation we've had this year, I have seen more and more members really lean into the climate fight. And I was having breakfast actually with Assemblymember Kellis, who I know a lot of you know very well. The truth is the fossil fuel industry has put in 16 million in lobbying, specifically the governor. This is not new, but they are not the only moneyed industry that has been beat. And we have won against real estate. We've won against big tech in ways when we passed AI legislation. So for all the money, I really do think we still have the ability to win. And even if progress isn't linear, it means more people are going to learn what happened this year and be more tuned in next year. And we're going to continue to have climate events that will just make this top of mind. So I feel very hopeful, even though I am still processing and, like I said, going back and forth through some of these stages of groups. So I'll end there. I don't know if I'll defer to the moderators here if you want me to answer some questions. Happy to stay on for a few more minutes to answer a couple of questions. But again, just thank you for the time and space in your agenda. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Senator Gonzalez, for spending some time with us. We really appreciate you. And yeah, as you said, progress is never linear. And we have another speaker here to tell us about one of the ways that we can still make serious progress. And if folks want to ask questions in the chat, we can send them over. Yeah. And I will turn it over to you, Graham.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jen. Let me just share my screen. Excellent. Hi, everybody. My name is Graham Van Korf. I am the Solar Policy and Program Manager at Solar One. We are a New York City-based environmental education nonprofit. We help to kind of tackle the high barriers to access to renewable energy, and namely solar energy in New York City and a little bit in New York State. So predominantly we help affordable housing, low to moderate income homeowners, renters, nonprofits, houses for worship, access solar energy. And I'm here today to tell you about the Accelerate Solar for Affordable Power Act, otherwise known as the ASAP Act, that a few others have mentioned on the call. This is an incredibly impactful piece of legislation that we so desperately need to get done yesterday, but today works as well. And I'll save some space at the end for questions if there are any. So quickly at a glance, there are kind of three components of the ASAP Act. I'll talk about them a little bit more, each one in more detail later. But the first part is that it increases our state's solar goal. Currently, our solar goal for New York State, and what I mean by solar is distributed solar, which is the type of solar that you see. It's the rooftop solar. It is the community solar in our communities. It is not industrial large solar farms. So it increases our goal for that type of solar to 20 gigawatts by 2035. Currently, our goal is 10 gigawatts by 2030, and we are on track to hit that early and under budget. So it doubles down on a successful proven industry, proven form of cheap renewable energy. Um, it also makes some interconnection reforms. So for those who may not be familiar, interconnection refers to when it's like how you plug in the energy generation into the actual grid. Um, Currently, it is very expensive for a lot of mid to large size community solar projects to connect to the grid. That increases the cost for those projects and makes the savings for regular New Yorkers less, and also makes it harder for those types of projects to come online. So this really just kind of cuts through some red tape and allows these much needed affordable renewable energy sources to come online quicker and cheaper. And lastly, it continues New York's New York Sun program, which is a incentive program administered by NYSERDA, the state's energy authority. New York Sun provides an upfront rebate to pretty much anyone across the state who wants to install solar. It cuts the amount that you pay right off the top out of pocket. It's not a tax credit. You don't have to apply for it. It just decreases what it costs to go solar. This has been an incredibly successful program, but unfortunately, as we have hit our goal early and under budget, the governor has decided to say, "Congratulations, solar. You've done it. We're done. We've solved the climate. We're going to be pulling all of the remaining funding from New York Sun, and we are not going to incentivize these programs any longer." And so, kind of in summary, what the ASAP Act does is bring a proven, doubles down on a successful proven technology that is distributed solar, and make sure that we have affordable energy for tomorrow and the decades after. So at first, before kind of getting more into what's in the bill, I want to talk about a little bit about the moment we're in. Jessica and Jen and the senator have done a great job kind of keying up some of those parts, so I'll try to be brief here. But as you may have noticed, our energy prices in New York are skyrocketing. It is not a coincidence that this is the same time that we are also behind on our clean energy goals. High energy prices are particularly damaging for low to moderate income New Yorkers, disadvantaged communities who are already paying a higher percentage of their income towards energy costs on a monthly and yearly basis. And a main driver of these energy prices is maintaining old gas and fossil fuel infrastructure. There has been this narrative pushed by fossil fuel lobby and those who are, taking money from them that somehow our clean energy is what's increasing energy prices, and that is just flatly untrue. Um, uh, Energy sources like distributed solar reduce electricity costs, reduce energy costs, provide safe, reliable, renewable energy closer to communities, and you can save on transmission lines. And we need to be, again, doubling down on that proven technology. If we continue at the rate that we are in currently, energy prices will continue to skyrocket, and we will have a crumbling grid behind it that cannot meet the demand of the 21st century. On top of what's happening in New York State, we've seen a really, really hostile federal administration towards clean energy projects, and solar as a very specific kind of target of the president's administration. The tax bill, HR1, from last summer, eliminated tax credits for distributed solar projects. So for residential solar projects, you can't get that tax credit anymore. And for kind of small commercial projects, which are like what we see on multifamily buildings or for community solar, it's ending next year as opposed to being around till 2032. It also placed very strict requirements uh, uh, on where you can get your material source from, while at the same time making it harder to produce those same materials here in the US. Um, Essentially, it just makes it more expensive for all of the components of these solar projects. So not only are the incentives gone, but the equipment themselves, the materials themselves are more expensive. And he has issued executive order after executive order to delay large-scale clean energy projects, wind, solar, and we are, at the moment that we are in, where we are not meeting the demand of our electricity grid. The idea that we are uh, delaying or canceling projects that can come online in a matter of months or just a year or two to meet that demand renewably and safely is ridiculous. So at the same time that we're having some fallback at the state, the federal administration is as hostile as it's ever been. Um, we're also seeing fracked gas pipelines, formerly rejected, now being passed. The kind of culmination of all of this is that, New York is kind of going backwards. We should be putting cheap, renewable, affordable energy on the grid that's reliable. We should not be going backwards and putting more gas pipelines that are harmful to our communities, that increase our bills. And we should be maintaining the incentive programs that work, that get New Yorkers to deploy solar and renewable energy efficiently. So solar has been a big success, though, in New York. We are one of the top solar states, and specifically community solar states. So we are way ahead of schedule and under budget in achieving our goal of 10 gigawatts by 2030. We already have more than 7 gigawatts of rooftop and community solar installed, with 3 more gigawatts in progress, and that is enough to power 1.7 million homes. So this is like one of the few CLCPA goals that we have been able to hit. And rather than continue this proven success at a time when we are falling behind in everything else, the governor and state administration have chosen to completely backtrack. The solar and storage industry in New York for distributed solar and storage employ over 19,000 workers. Those workers are paid well and are uh, at great risk right now, not only because of stalled progress in New York State, but also because of the federal attacks that we've seen that I mentioned. And so far, solar has created more than $10 billion in state infrastructure investments, something that we would like to see continued. So solar has been proven. It works. It delivers cheap, reliable energy close to the end user, right? You don't need a giant transmission line coming from the top of New York to the bottom. We can put it in places that you can't put other energy sources. And the idea that we are saying, we're not going to work with the thing that's working anymore is ridiculous. So I want to talk a little bit more about what's inside the ASAP Act. Again, that's the Accelerate Solar for Affordable Power Act. And again, I mentioned these before, so I'll just call them quickly. So again, raising the goal, and that raising the goal is not just something we do in name. It has real implications on the market. Not only does it kind of signal to the solar industry that New York is friendly to them and that they can imagine their businesses here in the future. It also is a mandate that requires policymakers to meet this goal, right? The reason that the New York Sun program, again, an incredibly successful incentive program, is being removed or canceled is because we met our goal. And they're saying, okay, well, we did it. We're done with our incentives. We're done with all of the support for this industry. We hit the goal. No, we are not done. We desperately need affordable, renewable energy. So we should be doubling that goal. We can do more. And how we get to that goal is by doing some of these things like reforming the way that our projects interconnect to the grid. A lot of New York's grid is very old. We're using 20th century technology in the 21st century. The way that the utilities are able to kind of charge seemingly willy-nilly really large sums to solar developers who want to interconnect their projects onto their grid is ridiculous. They also charge you an arm and a leg for performing grid upgrades to put those projects online. Um, and there is no real kind of proactive grid planning for solar looking forward. And so all of those things would be accomplished in if passed in the ASAP Act. And again, it puts money back into New York Sun that was removed after we hit our goal. New York Sun, incredibly successful, and I think one of the most equitable incentive programs that we have because it just reduces again that the upfront cost for folks. It's not a tax credit. You don't have to apply for it. You don't have to have a bunch of tax liability to take this. Whoever you are, you get a reduced price for solar, and so we want to make sure that that program continues. Some of the benefits from the Accelerate Solar for Affordable Power Act that we will see, a report from Synapse was released this spring, which found that just meeting the 20 gigawatts of solar by a 2035 goal, not even the interconnection stuff, not the New York Sun, would create $1 billion a year in savings annually in wholesale energy costs for all New Yorkers regardless of if you have solar or not, deploying that much distributed solar that is again close to the end user, that is quick and cheap to install, that provides free electricity generated by our sun, greatly reduces our bills. That alone should be enough to get this done. It creates $4 billion in local revenue. Um, it avoids over 145 million tons of greenhouse gas emissions, which is a can huge impacts for environmental justice communities, allows us to get off of peaker plants in New York City. I mean, this is we're talking about the emissions calculations, and again, we should be making sure we're doing everything we can to protect public health. Creates 15,000 green jobs and uses our land efficiently. It builds solar on already the built environment on rooftops. You can co-locate solar with agriculture that has co-benefits to both the farmers and the solar systems. This is not, mowing down a bunch of trees to create a nuclear plant or a gas infrastructure. Solar can exist cohesively with the environment that we're already in. So kind of quick status on where this bill is. In the Senate, it is sponsored by Senator Pete Harckham, and in the Assembly, D.D. Barrett. Um, so we are hoping that this bill will pass in full in the budget. The Senate included it in the White House budget in March and then passed it actually as standalone legislation as part of their Earth Day package in April. Um, what we have heard so far, which again, it's a very opaque process behind closed doors, is that the ASAP Act is quote unquote in play, but there's significant pressure to not pass it in full. So we have heard that the governor has no interest in raising the goal to any amount, not to 18, not to 15, not to 12, because she does not want to be held accountable to those standards and liable if she doesn't hit them. On top of that, we've heard that some or most of the interconnection reforms are on the table. We don't know which ones, but not all of them. And it seems right now that some amount of money, I think $200 million, is set to be put in New York Sun. But none of this is a guarantee. The lack of a goal and the lack of passing all of the interconnection reforms is a step backwards. Our grid and our energy system is already failing. New Yorkers are paying too much for their energy prices, and we need to make sure that we're doing everything possible. And if we have a tool that is already working, I don't understand why we wouldn't just double down on it. So that's the ASAP Act. That's where it is. We have to get this done yesterday, and we have just a couple of weeks to put as much pressure on as we can to make sure that the governor and the state legislature pass this bill in full. And so with that, I'm gonna pass it back to Jen.
Thank you so much, Graham. Really appreciate you joining us tonight. And if you have any questions for Graham, please drop them in the chat. And now we're going to all take action together And first up, we're going to tell our assembly members and the governor to pass the ASAP Act in the budget. So please get out your phone or click the link that's in the chat. You can scan this QR code that's on the screen, and it will take you to our action tool to send our leaders a quick message that you support the bill. Yeah. And thank you again so much, Graham. I really appreciate you joining us. It's a great presentation. All right. Please give us a sun emoji once you've done the action. Yeah. Okay. So I know many of us are feeling a lot of emotions about the climate law rollbacks that we've talked about, and we're all going to need some time to process that and strategize on how we move forward in the long term. And while it's a major setback, we still have a climate law, and we will still have a climate law even if it's weakened with ambitious but achievable goals. And so with the 2 weeks that remain in the session, there's still more that our legislators can do, including passing the full ASAP Act. And a coalition of organizations work together to think through a list of bills that our legislators can pass right now to get New York back on track toward meeting our long-term climate goals. And these are all bills that we think have a chance of passing before the end of session. And over 60 organizations signed on to this memo that we will share in the chat, or that Andrea just shared in the chat. And now we want to ask you to email your legislators as well to ask them to support these bills. So, one-click tools are great and easy, but at this stage in the budget, another thing that can be really impactful is sending an email from your personal email account. So we created this email template with instructions for how you can find out who your legislators are if you don't know, and what their email addresses are. And then if you use Gmail, it's really easy. You can just click this little it looks like an M, but it's a little mail icon on the left, and it's going to create a pop-up with a draft of the email that you're going to send. So you can go to the next slide, and this is what the pop-up will look like. It's got the draft of the email. If you don't use Gmail, you're going to have to copy and paste. Sorry about that, but you can do it. I believe in you. So. And if there isn't a pop-up, you can also look in your drafts folder because sometimes it will show up there if the pop-up doesn't work. But yeah, all you have to do is add your name and your address at the end and your legislator's emails at the top. And feel free to personalize it about why this matters to you and why you think that they should really be passing bills that can move us closer to our goals. So please take a moment to send that out right now. Thank you, Jennifer, for the emoji in the chat. And again, as I said, these are all bills that we think have a chance of passing this session, and they're all bills that will move us closer to achieving our climate goals. And you know, as Senator Gonzalez said, linear progress isn't linear, and there will always be things worth fighting for, and we will continue working to save all that we can, and to push forward through this. So the bills in this email are the Clean Deliveries Act, the Sunny Act, the Data Center Moratorium Act, the ACDC Act, the Automated Solar Permitting Bill, the ASAP Act, and the Commercial Battery Storage Sales Tax Bill. Yeah, so thank you all for taking action with us tonight and for being here. And now I'm going to turn it over to Andra to share what else we've been up to fighting for the climate law and our budget priorities and what we can do in the next couple of weeks. Thanks. Andra, you're on mute.
Thank you so much, Jen. I'm Andra. I'm with Alliance for a Green Economy, and I'm based in Syracuse. And I have this weird thing that now is like showing up in the middle of my screen, so I'll take care of that. And quick recap, what's been happening? Jessica told us what the governor has been doing, and Senator Gonzalez told us what the legislators have been doing. So we know that the budget is very, very late. We know the governor has dug in her heels on spending of all kinds. We know that legislators have been kept in the dark for the most part until very recently. We know the legislature passed a 14th extender yesterday, and they have voted on two of the budget bills, two of the pieces of the budget this week, and they will vote on the rest of the budget bills probably through next week. And we're going to lose big chunks of the climate law. But what have we, the advocates and activists, been doing? Everything. We have been doing everything we possibly can. And though we know that things are really bad, we keep going, and I am so proud of us. And this slide shows why. This is like the worst slide I ever created, and I take full responsibility for it. But I wanted to show what we have done since the last Power Hour on April 9th. So everything in that panel on the left-hand side, we did within a month. We showed up. We went to press conferences. We went to rallies all over the state. We participated in the Earth Day Advocacy Day, in Earth Day call relays, in Earth Day events at our own towns. We handed out flyers. We handed out flyers on May Day. We rallied for the Weatherization Assistance Program. We did an ASAP Act call relay. We rallied for the Sunny Act. We did an ASAP Act Advocacy Day. We did another ASAP call relay, and we did a Weatherization Assistance Program call relay. Are we all call relayed out? No, because every time we ask, could you guys do a call relay tomorrow? The relay fills up. So you are all so amazing. So our last week, we went to the Data Center Moratorium Advocacy Day with 52 lobby visits. And we keep writing and sharing letters to the editor and op-eds. We're supporting and amplifying social media posts, and we're doing emails, memos, and drop-offs at legislator offices. We are doing everything we possibly can. Next slide, please. So while it looks grim, we are not giving up. We made new allies. We showed up, stood up, spoke up day after day, week after week, budget extender after budget extender. We are relentless and amazing and resilient. And in the spirit of resilience, let's continue to take action together. So, Jen, if you could put into the chat the link to the spreadsheet. New York Renews is hosting a call relay for the Sunny Act. And what a great coincidence that that call relay is today. And it's perfectly okay to make calls after hours. And I would love it if we could get them like 30 more calls and just log it into their sheet and show them that we support them. Right, so we'll be calling Speaker Hasty because the Senate has passed the Sunny Act unanimously on April 21st. And in the Assembly, it passed the Rules Committee last Friday. So we have a real shot at passing this bill before the legislative session ends. So we're going to be calling Speaker Hasty, and we're going to be telling him to pass the Sunny Act this session. Next slide, please. So next, on Tuesday, New York Renews is going to be holding a mass call because the soon-to-be-announced budget deal will be gutting our climate law, and it's a lose-lose for climate and for justice. But across the state, community leaders and lawmakers will be looking to our movement for a response. And on this call, Tuesday at 6 p.m., they'll be debriefing the budget, demanding accountability from lawmakers, and we can learn about the coalition's climate, jobs, and justice agenda for the rest of the legislative session, all 5 minutes of that session. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so many of us were in Albany for the May 13th Advocacy Day for the Data Center Moratorium. And Food and Water Watch is leading the charge on that. And here are 4 next steps to advocate for passing this bill. they're going to be having another lobby day in Albany on Thursday, May 28th. And there will be a van going up from New York City. Other people are welcome to join independently. We'll be meeting at the food court and the concourse at 10:30, but people can join anytime during the day. And Jen will pop a sign-up link into the chat for that. Then there will be also, they're inviting us to make in-district office visits the week of May 26th. So next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the legislators will be in Albany, but you can stop in and talk to their district offices, drop off materials, take photos with signs. There is a sign-up link for that. Also, Food and Water Watch has a superpower, another superpower, and that one is phone banking. So next week, they will be phone banking to generate calls to legislators. They'll be phone banking on May 26, 27, and 29, skipping the 28th because that's when we'll be in Albany lobbying. So there are some evening hours and some daytime hours, and Jen has already popped that link into the chat. Thank you so much. And the final way that we can advocate for the data center moratorium bill is to generate emails and calls to legislators. And they are sharing two easy to use tools that we can just, click and do and have to, and make our voices heard in that way. So we will share all these links with you tomorrow or Tuesday when we get everything set and mail it out. So don't worry if you don't catch every single one, but what I usually do on calls is just click on them so that they're all open in my windows, and then I take care of them after the call. So thank you. Okay, so here, this slide. Sane Energy Project, in collaboration with the New York Energy Democracy Alliance, is hosting a webinar series, Energy Systems 101 and Rate Cases. And this series will break down how utility rate cases work, because every utility files a rate case at least every 3 years, and they always ask for the rates to go up, and they always get some kind of increase, but we'll learn how we can intervene and make them less bad. This series will tell us about why energy bills keep rising, how decisions are made in New York's energy system, what National Grid is proposing and signaling for their next rate hike downstate, and how communities can organize for affordable local renewable energy solutions. And because resisting utility greed requires stamina, imagination, and a little joy, and a lot of Kim Frochek magic, this Power Hour will be Star Wars themed. So they say, bring your lightsabers, join the Rebel Alliance, and help us fight for an energy future that serves people and not corporate empires. Their webinars are always so much fun. And now I'll turn it back to Jen to close us out.
Thanks so much, Andra. You're the best. So, thank you all for coming tonight. We really appreciate you spending the hour with us. And to find out what made it into the final budget and what's next for RHN and the advocacy work that we're going to continue doing over the summer, please join us for our legislative session debrief on June 18th at 7 p.m. We hope to see you all there, and thank you again for joining us. We really appreciate all of you and all the hard work that you've all put in this session. It's been a grueling one. We went to Albany so many times. We sent so many letters, did so many things, like Andra said, and we just really appreciate all of you for all of the work that you've done with us and for sticking with us through it all. Really appreciate you and hope you all have a wonderful long weekend and lots of rest, please. And maybe appreciating some spring flora and fauna if you get a chance. All right. Thanks, everyone. Can unshare slides. Thanks. Thanks, everybody. Night. Oh, thanks, Maura.